So continuing on, welcome to the video. I am in the process of removing my transmission on my 2004 Subaru Outback. These is broken up into various steps so you can easily find what you're looking for if you're doing any of this subframe, undercarriage, exhaust work on any, generally any all-wheel drive 1990s up to 2010 Subarus. Excuse me. So we've already got off the exhaust, the heat shield, the drive shaft. We've removed the subframe bushing mount and crossmember for the transmission. These are my previous videos. And now we are working on removing the axles. So this is going to be mostly applicable to, let's say you need to replace an axle. Reasons to replace an axle: you may have a torn CV boot. These guys right here. If these get torn, they'll throw all their grease everywhere and they'll dry out, and over time will get louder and more stiff, and eventually if you don't replace them or repair them, they will give way, break, and disconnect. So you can be torn on the inside or the outside. Same thing will happen, either one. If they get torn, they will eventually deteriorate and fail. So it's a pretty straightforward process to remove them. You don't have to do any of this other work I've done thus far to do this, so we'll just focus on what's going on here. First thing you need to do is jack up the car, obviously. Get your front wheels off the ground, get your wheels off, socket, or 19mm socket for the lug nuts on the wheel. And then you are going to come down here and you are going to see in the CV axle itself that there is a small hole in the axle that houses your roll pin, one of these guys. This is a compression fit roll pin. It goes in there and it expands when it's in there and holds the axle tight. So what you're going to do is come down here and you need to push out that roll pin. A punch press is the most effective way to get them out. Being that I don't have a punch press and keep forgetting to buy one, a drill bit will do the job. No, you do not use this as a drill bit, you use this as a punch. You are most likely going to be sacrificing this drill bit because you're probably going to end up tapping on the head of the bit. The one I've got here is a 3/16. It fits in there nicely. It is just big enough to get in the hole and just big enough to get in the hole and not get inside the roll pin itself, because if you have it too small, it'll go inside the roll pin and it won't push it out. So usually what I do is I start with the bladed side up front so it can get the actual hook of the drill bit into the pin, and then I push it in a little bit with a hammer. Tap it in with a nice small 12-ounce hammer just so I can get it doesn't take a lot of force to take it out, just to give some of that push. Once it comes out the other side, you can either try grabbing it with some channel locks and pull it out. I prefer to just take it all the way, and once I get a little bit from the bladed side, I take it out and flip it around so it doesn't get stuck in the pin. And tap it into the back side until it comes all the way out the other side. And either the pin will pop out or you'll stop just short and you can pull it out, and then that will release the axle so it can slide out. There is a way to get these axles out without undoing the wheel suspension. It is extremely challenging and it takes a lot of muscle work to actually get it free, and it will just save you a lot of time and headache to just take the suspension apart a little bit to get at it. So we'll move to that. So at this point you've got your pin out of your axle and you verified that it slides. And we'll come to the inside of the car. I'll show you what it looks like before you start knocking on stuff. So it is going to look like this with your wheel off. And up here on the strut tower, at the bottom, you've got two 19mm bolts and nuts. The top one is your camber bolt. That means that as it rotates in a circle, it changes how much the wheel is tilted in or tilted out. So to not lose your camber adjustment, what you need to get is a high visibility Sharpie or a paint pen. I suggest a white paint pen. Paint will stay better than Sharpie. If you go Sharpie, white is pretty ineffective. You're going to want to use something like silver or gold, because it will be more reflective to light when you go to put these back in. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your paint pen, get this set up. And if you can see that, those little marks on that bolt, those are the camber adjustment marks that auto body shops use, or suspension shops use, to make those finite adjustments. Give me 1 second here. So I've got my paint pen, and all I'm going to do is take it and mark on the bolt and directly onto the frame. So it looks like that. And then I'm going to do it again. So it looks like that. So I can verify my alignment when I put this bolt back in. If you do this, you may not have to get an alignment, but if you are doing something like axle work, it is suggested to get an alignment after this. You should just need a front wheel alignment. And so what you'll do is you'll take a 19mm wrench and a 19mm socket and ratchet. This one I've already done. So here is my camber bolt removed. There are my marks. There are my marks. So this guy's sitting in here like this. You're going to put the wrench on the bolt head side. Use the ratchet to undo the nut. The camber one has a washer that goes with it. And you're going to break the nut free, get the nut and the washer off, leave the bolt in for the moment. Then you'll go for the bottom one, get the nut off. Oops, wrong way. Get the nut off. And then easiest way to do this is grab a small hammer. You can use a large wrench if that's all you got laying around. And you'll just tap the bolts out until they're flush there. And if this is the first time this has been done, or hasn't been done in a long time, these are going to be really stiff and not want to slide all the way out. I suggest taking your 19mm wrench, sliding it around the shaft of the bolt, and then just kind of prying it loose as it goes. And if it stops being able to pry, give it a jiggle and keep prying, and it should come right out. I will suggest PB Blaster or WD-40 breakaway spray if that is being an issue of getting those loose. And that will get you your strut detached from your knuckle. And then if you look inside here, you can see that my axle has come out of my transmission. So that one is done. For what I'm doing, if you're going all the way to replacing this axle, this would be something you do before it, but you will come to the front of the hub assembly and you will take out that, I believe it's a 32mm axle nut. And these ones are the bent compression fit, so there's a little divot in the roundness of the nut there. You will either try and bend that out and take this off with a socket and a wrench, or if you have impact tools, you can just take it and bust it right off with an impact tool. Once that nut is free and you are free from the back of the transmission, you will be able to just tap this out with a hammer. Being that you're not reusing this axle if you're taking it out, you can just go at it with a small sledge, a hammer, a mallet, whatever you want. If you're doing this type of removal and planning to reuse this axle, you're going to want to use a mallet or a small piece of wood on the face of the axle to tap it out with. That'll keep it from marring and mushrooming the head of the axle. And that should just knock back and out. It's a spline fitting into the hub, so it's not going to be able to rotate at all without rotating the whole hub. So if it gets stuck, you're just going to want to jiggle it back and forth. Don't try and rotate it. That'll just make it more stuck in most instances. Jiggle it back and forth like this, and then keep sliding it out. If it really is having a hard time, there is a nice indent in the center there. You can take a punch press and set it in there and tap it out. with a hammer, so you don't have to do anything with this with a mallet or with a piece of wood, and that'll get your axle out. One thing to remember is to keep tension off of your brake line. These rubber hoses, if I let go of this will sag and catch on the brake line. So what I'm going to do next is disconnect that 12 millimeter bolt right there to release the pressure on the brake line, so this guy can hang until I can put my axles back in. That's pretty much it for getting the axles out of this guy. Leave me comments, questions, anything I missed, let me know. I appreciate you guys watching, and thanks for subscribing to my subscribers who do. I saw I just got a new one 2 days ago. I always appreciate the people who do subscribe and keep up with my videos. As always, if you guys are looking for something specific on a specific car, let me know. I have access to a wide variety of different cars. Fairly easy access to any Hondas, Subarus, Toyotas. Let me know. I'm happy to do some basic stuff on those to give you guys a better idea of taking care of your own vehicles. I'll take a moment to do a little shout out to DeWalt. If you've noticed through any of my videos, lots of DeWalt tools. They have made a huge difference in my ability to do this mechanic work. They're reliable, they're high power, and it really does make this job much easier to do. Thanks for watching, guys, and catch me on the next one.